Kobzar, the minstrels that we had many years ago, бандурист, він є композитор, продюсер народних ансамблів, майстер і виготовлення музичних інструментів, культурний активіст і педагог. А також з ним є Олег Бут. Олег Бут, треба подивитися, він має український народний гурт, я вже забула, як звати, Пуття. Народні пісні, як я вже чула, вирізала, це вже музика, яка мені дуже подобається. Unbelievable stuff that they have here. І також грає різних народних інструментах. Автентичний спів, authentic folk singing. So remember that from here. І authentic танці і обрядових традицій.
З 2005 року має власну школу танців.
Okay.
Я вже досить довго.
So, his own, and there is a school of folk dance. Folk dance, not what we see on stage in its final form where our feet are in these positions, but traditional folk. So we have musicians, we have instrument makers, and they're sending a message. The presentation will be Ukrainian and in English, back and forth. And Osha, proszę привітати Oleg. Oleg, і Юрко.
Giacomo. Does anybody not understand English?
Хто не розуміє англійську мову?
Does anybody not understand Ukrainian?
Можна українською, так?
Всі розуміють українською? Again, does anybody not understand Ukrainian? A little bit, yeah? Okay. So we'll do
I have a husband who does not understand.
Okay. So we'll do a little bit of each. And most of the singing, but not all of the songs will be in Ukrainian. We'll also have some songs in English. Very interesting old-time music from England. So thank you, Lesia. Thanks, our priests.
They're not here?
Oh,
There's one!
Thanks the church and the Women's Association, everybody who's come out. These activities exist on volunteerism, right? Money is not part of the project. Of course, you might ask, well, how do they get around? How do they fly here? Well, we have a little donations thing, but don't worry about it. We make our costs. Right? It's kind of a formality, but we've come to not just present lost traditions, right, or prohibited traditions, things that we're not supposed to know because the Soviets didn't want us to know. We've come to convince you that it's so much fun that maybe you should start singing narodny pisni, start dancing dances, start making instruments, and maybe some of your children will become kobzars or kobzarkas. Ми хочемо передати традицію. І одночас, at the same time, I've come as a practitioner of the Kobzar tradition. I'm trying to revive tradition, and to revive it, you actually have to do. You have to kobzar, right? The verb to actually practice tradition. And I've come in that quality. In one point, I will be telling about who the Kobzari were and presenting the Kobzar tradition. But at the same time, I will be giving you example of what a Kobzar could theoretically do. The Kobzari, they certainly didn't just play. You'd lose your voice if you did that. They would also talk about serious things like we are now. So that's another part. And we're going to present lots of different traditions, right? Kind of the Kammerton, the tuning fork of the program is these three national instruments, right? They're not just instruments, they're Ukrainian national instruments, which almost nobody in the world, in Ukraine, in the diaspora, they don't know what these instruments are. They say, what are these? There's no bandura there. I've seen the bandura, it's not there. What are these things with lots of strings? So, and why don't we know it? Are we stupid? No. We are the victims of machinatsia, the Soviet plan, specifically, though even today, even in the diaspora, right? We will not know our national instruments and have never heard what a kobzar really sounded like, and who the kobzari really were. So that's what we really get into. We found when I was studying in America and Ukraine and realizing I don't know the tradition. I don't play on the traditional bandura. I play these wonderful tunes. They're kind of folk-like, but it's not traditional music. It's not a traditional instrument. It's kind of like the bandura was turned into some kind of portable piano to play like piano reductions instead of the whole chorus. So you play like a piano part and sing some like pseudo opera. I mean, I'm not stupid. I know that's not folklore. But at first I thought, well, maybe it is. And today, in the diaspora in Ukraine, we're still under the Soviet tuman, right? The Soviet fog that makes us think strange things, right? We're also the product of Moscow zombievania, unfortunately. So we've come to clear the fog, and from whatever I say, please don't take offense. I did not come here to make problems or to make scandals, but of course, this is life, and there'll be some things which you won't like to hear, but which I feel you should hear, and things that maybe only a Kobzar would tell you, because he really thinks about, so that you'll know the truth, and maybe after a while you have to sometimes to think about a lot of the things we say and do. So we're presenting the lost instruments. We're also presenting other traditions which were prohibited, right? Folk dancing, right? The Soviets had programs so that people would stop dancing folk. They said, okay, we have a new form, right? We will be dancing on the stage, new dances, a new, healthy, modern Ukrainian culture. And Ukraine said, excellent, that's cool, that's wonderful. We love the ballet, we love virtuosism and shows and things. And that is wonderful. But when the Soviets get a hold of those genres, no good comes of it. You know, they screw with the culture, they make it into something different. And these things have to be explained and talked out, right? So that even modern Ukrainian dancers know the true story, so that modern Ukrainian dancers get to know the fact that this ballet is not village folk, like it or not. We're very sorry to break the bubble, but that's the truth, and that's what we do. So our project is not to discredit modern Ukrainian culture. Don't ever think that. We're classical pianists. We're classical composers. We write avant-garde for the bandura. We play in the Capelli Banduristi. We have other projects which we won't maybe go into too deep. But as Khodkevich said, if you want to make a modern culture with, say, the bandura, you have to know the roots. If you don't know the roots, what are you going to make? Like classical piano reductions and opera? And what about the traditional singing? Doesn't that have anything to do with anything? What about traditional instruments? What are the traditional tunings and the Kobzar philosophy? Shouldn't that have a part to do with our new modern form? Of course. So we have come to diaspora, as well as to Ukraine, as well as to the world, to give people that missing root culture, because the roots, that's what the modern culture grows for. If you don't have the tradition, you're not going to be Ukrainian. You're going to think you are, but without that traditional knowledge, it's not going to be the same. So, interesting stuff, right? We're going to start with this instrument. We call it a torban. Can everybody say torban?
Torban.
We do that to remember. It's not seneyet turban. Seneye muslimanski szafka. Choć szafkę może i podwójny, ja nie знаю. Na korabel może być podwójny. Ciekawe instrukcje. Ribs like on a boat, right? So the instrument is not a folk instrument. Never wanted to be like the modern bandura. It is a bandura. It is a proto-bandura, you might call it. An instrument made to play modern music. But it appeared in 1700, or a little bit around that time. So at that time, the modern culture was Baroque music, an instrument for playing Baroque, Cossack Baroque, right? And an instrument for playing in a lot of different tonalities, right? We don't have Paramekache, Mimaimo, Lidi. So something similar to the concertopa, really, but an instrument which lasts in Ukraine about 200 years. That's a lot of time for a modern instrument. So it's no longer modern, but we're very interested in what music the turban can play. What is the Cossack Baroque? We don't have lots of notes. In fact, we have almost no notes. So we have to speculatively reconstruct how traditional Ukrainian Baroque cants would sound with the turban. That's what we'll do now. But the text, for those who don't know Ukrainian, or those who don't understand old-time Ukrainian, these cants, 1800, 1850, they're old. The language is old. lots of church Slavonic moments here and there. And the question is, with all this religious rhetoric, what is this all about really? So I'll give you a modern example. A mother hears that her son is going to war. And not that she's going to war, that he's already there at the front, right, to battle the Russians, the separatists, and she doesn't like the sound of that. So she goes to find her son. She goes to one regiment, right? It's a secret information, right? They don't tell where he is actually. And the first regiment says, no, we don't know your son. The second one says the same thing. The third one says, oh, yes, he's actually Napoli Bitva Zaraz, może tam, maybe you can make it out there, and maybe. So she goes out there, and the guns are shooting, right? It's a terrible situation. But this mother, out of love for her son, could care less. She's going to tell him, why are you doing this? Come back home. It's not worth it, right? It's a killing machine. And as she finds her son, he's already wounded. He's been shot. And he says, somebody's got to do it. It's a dirty job. I love Ukraine. I love freedom. I love you. And I'm not going to let the Moscow Empire do the same stuff they've been doing for us for the last 3 years. So what he says, but heroes don't die. We're Christians, right? Okay, I get shot. But I'll get shot doing good things, dying, laying your life down for your friends. What greater gift is there? Isn't that what he said? So, and he dies, he goes to heaven, he becomes immortal. But this is in a little different language, a little different story, but the same thing.
Jesus Nazarianski,
дався вбити, дався розпинати за народ християнський. Білий Христос, білий розпинали, крові з боку сточили, неїдною терновину на главу возложили. Пречистая, хіба паче сонця, сльозі пропликала, Матір Божая, Сина Своєго на кресту спізнала. Ой, Сину ж мій, возлюблений, про що ж ти вмираєш? Про що ж твоє тіло пресвятоє, дорогу воздаєш? Мовить Христос до Матки єдиної, Ісус Назарянський, терпів муки, прийняв рані за народ християнський. Матко ж моя, возлюблена, треба помирати, тії душі невинні, з пекла врятуватись, пресвятії його ученики, день славу чинили, взяли Христа прощаницю, на дорогу возложили. Не дізналась тому жадна віра,